Just testing the audio equipment. Just testing. Just testing it.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
We read in the book of Psalms. As a father has compassion for his children, so may Adonai our God have compassion for all the family and friends of Jeffrey Zucker, who we come here to remember today. God knows how we are fashioned. God remembers that we are dust. Our days are like grass. We flourish as the flowers in the field. The wind passes over us and we are no more. But we trust that God's compassion is everlasting. God's kindness to children's children endures age after age, unchanging. We begin our service by reciting Psalms, thus linking Jeffrey's life to our ancient tradition, to the Jewish people, and to the eternity of God.
Shir lamalot Ezri meim Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz Ayetein lamot raglecha yanum shomerecha Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shomerecha Adonai tzilcha ayad yiminecha Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka ve'yareach b'layla Adonai yishmorcha mikora, yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzeitcha uvoecha, me'ata ve'ad olam.
I lift my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? This is a question the psalmist asked thousands of years ago, perhaps at a time of sorrow like this one. And here was his answer. My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, for your garden will not slumber. The garden of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your protection, a guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from harm and guard your soul. For Adonai guards your going out and coming in, now and forever. Mizmor LeDavid. Adonai rawi lo echsar. Bino deshe yarbit seni amei minuchot yenahaleni. Nafshi eshavev yancheni b'maglei tzedek l'ma'an shemo. Gam ki elech b'gei samavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha mishantecha hema nachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorai. Dishanta v'Hashem roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yerdefuni koyemei chayai. V'shavtu b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. Those were the Hebrew words of Psalm 23, also known as the Shepherd's Psalm, a psalm that guides us through difficult moments like this one. I invite you to join me if you'd like as we recite it in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In synagogue on Shabbat morning, we're currently reading from the book of Bereshit, the book of Genesis. And it's in that very first book of the Bible that we learn that when a loved one passes away, Members of the family come forward to share stories and memories. And as that ancient tradition will continue here today, as first we'll call up Jeffrey's daughter, Lauren, then his nephew, Michael, then his grandchildren, Sam, Sage, Tess, and Julian, his sisters, Heidi and Stephanie, and then his son, Adam. Lauren.
Growing up, I was Daddy's little girl, or how he would call me, Lauren the Parent. My dad showed me how to take care for someone that you love. The first time I got sick as a baby, he slept on the floor under my crib all night. As a toddler, when we moved to Society Hill, he played house with me for hours and let me dress him up in curlers. He never once missed the chance to show up for me, even when he was up all night with no sleep. Being my dad mattered to him more than anything else. I revered my father. He was honest, steady, funny, selfless, and deeply loving. My dad was a wonderful example and everything I wanted to emulate. As an adult, I understood the values he lived by: kindness, loyalty, patience, and devotion to family are the most important. We shared a common love of tennis. He'd used to say that he would buy me a car if I could beat him. I was a ranked tennis player in New Jersey, but I never did. I know he loved watching me play. It brought him so much joy, and I'm so grateful for that. I can imagine it now because it just radiated his smile with joy and positivity. He was a caretaker in every sense of the word. I watched him care for his parents and for anyone who needed help. I could bring him any problem and instantly feel calmer. He made me believe that no matter what, we would figure it out together. When I struggled in school, he would sit with me at the kitchen table. He helped me with every college application. He was my role model at every stage of life. The only grown man I know who never took off his college ring. We shared so many memories together when he visited me at Syracuse. He teased me endlessly, and pretty much anyone, by singing funny songs that will live in my heart always. That teasing now lives on with his grandkids. They laugh and say, "Oh, Pop, Carmela, don't touch this." Or Sam, you know when to hold them. Everyone loved his humor. He may have made fun of you, but he would never say a bad word about anyone. My dad taught me what was important without ever preaching. Family was everything. He was loyal to his core. He loved my mom with his whole heart and was so proud to say that that's my wife. He admired her strength, her creativity, her confidence, and her super fierce ability to love deeply. I truly wish I can have a marriage like them, a true best friend. When I moved to New York City, his complete lack of direction drove my mom crazy. But he toured every building until he found me the perfect place to live. He was completely selfless, always putting people he loved before himself. He loved showering us with gifts and seeing his family smile. He loved planning my wedding. I only heard my dad raise his voice once, and that was during the Newlander case. I barely recognized him. He was stern, serious, and commanding. But I did get kicked out of the courtroom that day because my phone rang, and he still didn't yell at me. He was such an accomplished lawyer. always there for his clients. They would call day and night on line 2 in my house from jail. And he would be there. He always managed to make time for you in the most genuine way possible. The last 6 years of my life have been the hardest. And he is the only person that I trusted to guide me through this time. I was facing challenges that I did not know how to survive with 2 young kids that he adored. I was so scared, and he held my hand through everything and gave me the confidence that it was going to be okay. When life became even harder and my children lost their dad so suddenly, my dad showed up again without hesitation. He and Adam became father figures in ways I can never fully explain. He was there for Sam's games, for Tessa's school journey, for Sunday football, for ordinary moments that mattered most. He taught my children the same values that he taught me. That's who my dad was. He showed up every time with love and joy. I don't know how to do this without him. He was my person, and I am who I am because of him. Now that he's gone, I want to make him so proud. I love you, Dad, now and forever.
Thank you, Lauren. Now we call up Michael.
I'm going to try my best. Today we gather with heavy hearts to honor the remarkable life of my uncle, a man who was so much more than just a relative. To me, he was a friend. He was a pillar of strength, a constant source of wisdom, and for so many of us, both a role model and a true friend. First and foremost, my uncle was a family man in every sense of the word. He loved his wife and his kids fiercely and without reservation. He was so deeply proud of his son Adam and his daughter Lauren. That pride grew only when it came to his beautiful grandchildren. No matter how busy life got, he would always find time for Jamon, no matter how busy. He would always find time to listen, to give advice, or just to call and check in. In all my life, I can't even count the number of times he was there for me. I could go on and on. He was more of a father than I ever had. I can't even count the number of times he was there, showing up exactly when I needed him the most. Sometimes it was with wise words. Other times it was just his calming presence. I was telling my wife that I can't remember a single time he didn't pick up my call. Not once. I'd call him sometimes. He'd be on vacation, out of the country. He'd answer my call. He quite literally was always there for me. From seeing his face in the crowd during my baseball games to showing up at the hospital at 4 a.m., I needed emergency surgery. First person in my family to be there. To being the first when my kids were born. There's so many moments I can't even put into words. He made a point of always showing up for me. But more than anything, he was my hero. Ever since I was a little kid. Honestly, I think he was the coolest person I ever met in my life. He was always just so cool. An absolute legend. Someone I was always proud to call my uncle. Professionally, he was the best. Truly one of the best to ever do it. His reputation for fairness, integrity, sharp intellect earned him the deepest respect from his colleagues, clients, and judges alike. But despite all of his success, he never let it change who he was. Instead, he used his gifts to help those who needed a voice and mentored countless others with patience and generosity. But what truly set my uncle apart was his incredible spirit. He never let a room stay serious for too long. Even with all his accomplishments, he never took himself too seriously. And his sense of humor was absolutely infectious. All you had to do was be near him and you'd be laughing. A side note that I didn't write is that when I was, till now, whenever I saw him, whenever I could make him laugh, it was such an accomplishment for me. And pardon me, he had no BS, okay? And if you can make him laugh, that was an accomplishment. People talk about core memories. For me, one of mine was when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. My family always loved the beach. But as a little kid, the ocean felt huge. When I was with him, I felt totally safe in that huge, choppy ocean. He would take me out really, really deep. And I just knew that as long as he was there, nothing could hurt me. I'm 46 years old now, and I still have that feeling. As long as my uncle is around, I'm safe. Even last year when I opened my business, he helped me in every aspect of that. Even stood by my side of my ribbon cutting, giving me that same sense of comfort and strength. His advice usually came wrapped in stories, funny, unexpected, but always a lesson behind them. That was one of his many gifts, his ability to speak, to connect with anyone, anywhere. Jeff was a born litigator. When I attended Rutgers, by the way, Jeffrey was the reason I got into Rutgers, I would sometimes, in my spare time, go to court and watch him do his thing. To me, it was like watching Michael Jordan play basketball. He was a master of the courtroom, and you knew you were witnessing something very, very special. As we say goodbye, it's hard to imagine a life without him. But I know what he gave us lives on. And the examples he set, the love he gave, and all the memories and stories he created for us. Uncle Jeff, thank you for everything. Your love, your laughter, your guidance, and above all, your unwavering support. We will miss you always, but your legacy will live on in all of us who are lucky enough to know you. Rest easy. You're truly one of a kind.
Thank you, Michael. Now we call on Jeffrey's grandchildren, Sam, Sage, Tess, and Julian.
Hi, everyone. Most people agree that funerals are a time to mourn the life of a loved one. But today we celebrate. I call him Pop, but most of you probably call him Jeff. Pop always loved having fun. Many of my core memories with him were watching little kids' movies in the living room, cheering for the Eagles, which usually ended up screaming at the Eagles, or playing basketball and swimming in LBI. One of my favorite singers had a line that stood out to me once Pop got sick. Keep your time, keep your mind, keep humble. To me, this is exactly what kind of person Pop was. He always made time for family and was extremely humble considering how many people he has helped working as a criminal defense lawyer. Me and my cousin Sam always used to beg to come with him to jail and see all the inmates he constantly talked about. He told us when we turned 10. Time went by and we slowly forgot about it, but I know that I can always hear stories from all the people that he impacted. My grandfather, Pop, always inspired me. He worked hard until he absolutely couldn't and even learned to cook in COVID, something that I wish he told my dad. Pop, I love you. I already miss you. May your memory be a blessing.
Hi, today I know is a sad day for a lot of people, but I don't want to make this sad because I know Pop, or Jeff, was a really funny person to be around. All of his jokes he told the family and his friends. A really good memory I have of him is going to Dairy Queen and LBI and sitting in a secret spot with the cousins and eating ice cream together. Even though I'm not a big fan of watching the Eagles, the games with him were so enjoyable. I spent time with him. Also going to Weber's and eating inside of your car was so fun and special. I love you so much, and he is the best Pop I could ever have. And we will always remember him as the best Pop ever.
Today, we're here to remember my Pop, someone who meant so much to me and to everyone in this room. If you know my Pop, you knew how much he loved football. He loved the games, the teams, the rivalries, and the excitement of every Sunday. But what I loved most wasn't just watching football with him. It was being around him while he watched it. If it's on the cozy den on a chilly Thanksgiving weekend, it was all memories. Hearing his laughs, groans, and his booings on how Jalen Hurts sucks. They were the most special moments. Football was never just really about football to him. It was about a connection. I remember him telling me all the stories about how he made the town newspaper for rushing for 100 yards, and how he would always boo Penn State and show me his Pitt football ring. Football was about spending time with the people he loved. Being with Pop made me feel comfortable, safe, and happy, like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. He taught me without ever trying how important it was to show up, to enjoy every moment and value time together. Those lessons on how to tease my sister in LBI, singing Know When to Hold Them for $20 at the 5 and dime, I'll carry them with me forever. I'll miss him deeply, his presence, his voice, and the way he made the ordinary days feel meaningful. But I know every time I hear the crowd cheer, see a game on TV, or feel the LBI breeze, I'll feel a place of him in my heart. Thank you, Pop, for the memories. The time we shared, I was lucky to be your fisher. Your middle school football player and your grandchild, which you'll hold forever.
Now we call Jeff's sisters, Heidi and Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Jeff's sister, 3 years younger than he is. Jeff was my hero, my mentor, my teaser, my boss, my big brother. When I was 3, he cut off almost all my hair. Early one morning, while our parents were still asleep. Then he proudly marched me into the bedroom to show off his handiwork. My mother screamed and rushed me to the beauty salon to no avail. I'm still waiting for it to grow back. Jeff was always a constant source of strength, support, and comfort to our family. His presence brought reassurance in difficult moments and joy in everyday ones. I know our hearts are heavy with such a devastating loss, but I am so grateful for the memories we shared and the bond we had that will remain forever.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here to honor my brother, Jeffrey Charles Zucker, our Jeff, born on March 20th and blessed to live 78 really great full years. I stand here as his sister, and I can say without hesitation, I love Jeff to pieces. He was my very favorite person. That's not an exaggeration or a polite line for a funeral. It's the truth of my life. Jeff was always kind, funny, smart, and so much fun to be around. He came into this world in the Bronx, and I'm sure he brought heart and humor to wherever he stepped. I wasn't there for his childhood, but I can tell you, Jeff was the most amazing, loving, generous, and thoughtful soul. Everyone he met instantly loved him. We were 12 years apart in age. He teased me constantly when I was younger, and he took me to concerts in Camden. I remember him saying to me, if someone tries to pass you something to smoke, don't take it. I'd say, why? And he'd say, why do you think they call it dope? We laughed over that for years. Everyone came here and shared hours of your day for Jeff because he was a loving dad, loyal husband, amazing brother, awesome uncle, and a very special friend. He left us a part of him that neither time nor death could ever take away. Jeff, I will love you forever, and your memory will be in my thoughts forever. Rest in peace.
And finally, we'll call up Adam.
Thank you all for being here to honor my father and to support our family. There's been a lot of refrains heard over the past couple days and weeks, and definitely just today, as prayers have flooded in and memories are taking us over. My father was not simply just the best, hysterical, and from many I've heard the funniest guy they've ever met, but he was an absolute legend. He saved my life. I've heard that he changed the course of my life for many people. And this, mind you, is without me even speaking to the thousands of people he's represented over 50 years. This legend, beloved by so many, even before I touch on his character, has the honor for many people in this room of saving their life, or someone that they know, or someone that they've heard of, or someone that they could turn to in a time of true need. He did this, of course, as you've heard, expertly maneuvering the scales of justice. My father was not just a successful criminal defense lawyer. You've heard he's widely considered one of the very best. Public speaking in moments like this was his way of life, a daily ritual. As a child, I remember him practicing for weeks before trial. He could bring a courtroom to tears. He'd make witnesses melt under the pressure of his cross-examinations, and he could somehow always instill that reasonable doubt, even for the most colorful of characters in South Jersey. More than the law, as you've heard, he was someone everyone turned to for counsel in life. To me, certainly as my father, and to many others as a trusted and wise confidant. His moral compass, his compassion, his empathy, his competitiveness, and his sense of humor were unmatched. So with that, I'll take a page from my dad. Bear with me, I've not had the benefit of weeks preparing for this closing statement. Kabbalistic sources teach us that after the Jewish soul dies, it does not detach instantly. The neshama may hover nearby for a short time, aware, but unable to detach. Some sources say parts of the soul can remain connected for up to 3 days, hoping to possibly return, after which point the separation becomes complete. So, if there were ever a chance to hold on to those memories one last time, or better yet, to ensure that neshama has a swift journey up to Gan Eden, I'll try my best to win this case before you all. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, at the end of this eulogy, the question won't be whether you think Jeffrey Zucker was a legend, a one-of-a-kind soul, a class act that his neshama should have an aliyah, but whether the evidence proves this to be the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And though this burden of proof in today's trial need not rest with the prosecution, many of whom are here today, I believe at the end, ladies and gentlemen, you will have no choice but to agree with me, to grieve his passing with me, for us all to breathe and say goodbye, as this is a case of a soul overflowing with selflessness, good humor, reliability, and passion. You've heard he commanded a courtroom, but I'd argue his real magic was one-on-one. Virtually everybody who met him had a unique, authentic, and very personal bond with him. That Jeff Zucker sparkle, a hysterical joke, a teasing song, always associated with him, his instant ability to connect on a human level, an intuitive sense that he was listening to you, and he cared about what you had to say, and he was probably the only person whose opinion you cared to hear. That was true not only to close family and friends, it was a spark I noticed all the time from complete strangers. I believe this comes from my father's first job growing up, when he was a bellhop at the Rickshaw Inn, not too far from here, a famous hotel, where he ran the valet, parking cars and running all sorts of errands for the likes of Diana Ross, Don Rickles, and countless other celebrities and local politicians. There he learned the value of money and hustle, and where he would park the car one day and befriend an individual named Sam Oxman, a successful businessman and a Jewish guy from the area with alleged ties to the Atlantic City mob, who would later set up my dad on a blind date with my mom. It was also there that he must have learned the value of customer service, hospitality, genuine small talk, and friendly banter. This people-to-people skill is something that would serve him well for the rest of his life and inspire me greatly along the way. My father came from humble but impressive beginnings, being born in 1947 to two brilliant minds. My grandfather worked on the Manhattan Project at Columbia, helping to bring an end to World War II, while my grandmother, just years before in 1939, graduated high school at the age of 16 and conducted a symphony orchestra she composed at the New York World's Fair. My father, born to this young couple in the Bronx, was quickly moved to Camden and raised here in Haddon Township along with his two sisters. A good enough student, he was very athletic and hated to lose. He was a leader in his midget football, as you've heard, and would later in life count many tennis championships here at the beloved Haddon Field Club, where he and my grandfather would proudly remind us that they were the very first Jewish family admitted as members. A jokester and prankster, he'd go on to be a wildly popular, both in and after law school, amongst his fellow assistant prosecutors in Camden. Later in private practice, he'd be known for his TV custom-ready suits, his perfectly polished shoes, his rotating number of convertible Jaguars, usually in his favorite British racing green, a beautiful watch collection, taking my mom and our family frequently on beautiful vacations. But he also gifted lavishly. He was generous to everyone. He was philanthropic, and perhaps more honorable than tzedakah, as he took immense joy in working the pro bono, frequently not charging anyone, family, friends, and clients, old and brand new alike. He lived his life in practice by the code of ethics and professional conduct. He mostly followed all the rules. He never sped. And he will take with him today that sacred oath of attorney-client privilege, quite literally to the grave. My father never shared details, even in the confines of our Shabbat table. To this day, many, many years later, close friends and relatives have unraveled bits of shocking stories about how my dad saved their life from the scary and always unfair grasp of the law, without me, his own son, having the slightest idea of this. A very disciplined man, everything in moderation, he would say, including moderation. He reserved the occasional indulgence for his diabetic cheat. These lessons I've twisted for myself whenever my wife yells at me for all the speeding tickets I get driving around New York. But more to the point, and to redirect my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, despite all his success in providing tirelessly for his family, my dad should be described first and foremost as one of the most humble and down-to-earth men. A true man of the people. Though he could hobnob with the best, he was most comfortable with the salt of the earth. On every vacation, it was a matter of minutes, if not hours, before every worker on the property knew exactly his name. The guy at the pool had his table set up. The valet kept his car up front. He would tip well, of course, and that helped. But really, it was because everyone loved that guy. He was hysterical. He treated them as fellow humans. He could strike up a conversation and instantly and naturally bond with anyone. You've heard about his connection with the Eagles, and I remembered him mentioning, he can't be remembered without mentioning the birds and his love of football, rooting for his beloved Pitt and hating on Penn State. From an early age, he brought me to every Eagles game with any number of lucky friends to be his accompaniment on his perfect 50-yard line season's tickets. Always the good-humored jokester, my dad most took joy in encouraging me to chant "Dallas sucks" at an early age, or egging me at just 10 years old to accidentally squirt mustard packs on the spectators below us wearing Troy Aikman jerseys, or belly laughing at the ungodly sight of a drunken fan defecating in the sink in front of me when the lines were too long. In those days, of course, it was father-son bonding time, yes, but in a perfect twist of irony and a gift that only Hashem could connect for a soul as loving as his, my mother, the consummate artist, a dancer who could absolutely care less about sports and never bothered to watch a minute with us, would of course go on to become the choreographer of the Philadelphia Eagles cheerleaders, providing my diehard father the most enviable of perks. From access to the field to exiting games directly through the locker rooms, annual swimsuit calendar shoots, and 2 Super Bowl parties, even that beloved Super Bowl championship ring. These memories of family lore were cherished and told proudly by him to everyone, including every medical professional in my father's journey in the last couple days. A beloved man and a consummate provider, he was a role model father, husband, and son. He looked after, as you've heard, our immediate and extended family relentlessly and protected us from any trial and tribulation, whether in the court of law, public opinion, or real world, rooting for us all, steps big and small. As his parents aged and their own health declined, he visited them dutifully, taking them to every medical appointment and visiting them frequently at home. He never missed any of our performances, tennis practices, parent-teacher conferences, any important meeting, big or small. He was needed, he was there. And he wasn't on time, he was really early. Our memories and voicemails are chock full of first in the morning check-ins, birthday wishes, checking in on your job, checking in on the job search, your grandchildren's tests in school, routine doctors. He wanted to know everything. And he asked a bajillion questions along the way. His provider trait was perhaps recently best summed up when my mother was asked some random probate question, and she said, I don't know. He took care of everything. I just danced. And danced she did, and danced in perfect sync my parents did together. My dad really can't be remembered properly without acknowledging his number one best friend in life, my mom. My father adored my mom, and especially her cooking, and they had a picture-perfect marriage. He loved buying everyone gifts, but especially my mom. And although he equally hated surprises, he couldn't wait even a day after buying those gifts to give them to us. My parents will be celebrating their 50th anniversary in just a few weeks' time. Dad, Lauren and I really wanted to throw you guys a party to commemorate this milestone, just like you did, of course, for your parents' 50th, surrounded by all your friends and family. Is this untimely passing just another tease of us all, or another way of you unable to handle that surprise? In Jewish tradition, a life does not end. It is carried forward in memory and in action. The best way to honor my father is to live a life and live your life a little more like he did. And for that, I will sum up, ladies and gentlemen, with 5 quick recommendations on how you can honor my father's legacy. First, call your parents, or better yet, pay them a visit. If they're not around anymore, visit your children, your grandchildren, your neighbors, any friend in their time of need. 2, show up and be early. 3, go all in, compete to win. Life is too short to go mindlessly or haphazardly through these motions. 4, donate to your synagogue or your house of worship, the UJA or any supporting cause of Israel, or any number of medical organizations linked to finding cures or providing comfort to those struggling with kidney disease, cancer, or anything else. 5, watch the Eagles this weekend. And remember, Dallas sucks. I love you, Dad. May the defense rest eternally, Your Honor.
like to, sure. Come on up. Now Susie's going to say a few words.
I really wanted to thank you all for coming today, honoring Jeff in whatever your relationship was, whether it was with Lauren, with Adam, with me. It really means a lot that you're here today. And I can only tell you that I was very blessed. We almost made it to 50 years. We actually had our vacation planned February 1st. He was so excited to go. We had the most wonderful marriage. We laughed. We were just soulmates, that's all I can tell you. There was never a raised voice, never. It was really a storybook marriage. And for that, who can ask for more? And the last 2 months were very hard for him. It was the most difficult time that anybody should ever go through. And he never complained, not once. And I loved taking care of him through that. I don't know who I'm going to take care of. So really, I just wanted to thank everybody here. I wanted to thank Rabbi Peltz. He's been with me so much. And Jen, thank you. You're so nice. TBS has been a wonderful support for me. So again, I love you all, and you're here because you love a great man.
Wow. What an incredible set of tributes for Jeff. And we come here today to remember him on what in the Jewish calendar is the second day of Hanukkah. At the darkest time of the year, we mark Chag Urim, the Festival of Lights, where we seek to dispel the darkness with candles that we light in our Hanukkah menorahs. And perhaps there is a lesson in this for us today. We know this is a dark moment. We are all deeply saddened by the loss of Jeffrey Zucker. And yet, as we heard so beautifully from Lauren and Michael and Sam, Sage and Tess and Julian, Heidi and Stephanie and Adam and Susie, Jeffrey was a person who brought light wherever he went. He did it through his compassion, his humor, his devotion to justice, and with the love that he shared with all of you, his beloved family, friends, colleagues, clients, and community. Like the Hanukkah candles, our memories of Jeff illuminate his life and in turn illuminate our lives as well. So we heard Jeff was born in the Bronx and then moved to Camden and Haddon Township with his parents, Alvin and Marilyn, Zichronam Livracha, blessed memory, and his younger sisters, Stephanie and Heidi. Jeff was a good student and a star running back on the high school football team. And as we know, he had big dreams of playing in college, but that didn't pan out. So instead, he became friends with football players at the University of Pittsburgh. And after he graduated, Jeff went on to law school at Stenson in Florida. We know that Jeff went on to have an impressive career, first as a prosecutor in Camden and then as a defense attorney. But before we get to that, we have to talk about something even more important, which is how he met you, Susie. Now, Adam mentioned the Rickshaw Inn and that Susie's father, Sam, helped bring them together, but he left out a lot of great details from that story that I learned yesterday. So let me share a few other pieces of it. So Jeff worked at the Rickshaw Inn, and Sam Oxman took a liking to him, and they spent time together. And then one day after Jeff had finished law school, he ran into Sam on the speed line to Philadelphia. Sam asked him what he was doing, and Jeff told him that he was now an assistant prosecutor in Camden. The next day, he called Jeff to invite him to a party at the Rickshaw. Jeff thought that Sam might need legal help, so he agreed to come. At the same time, Susie, you said you got a call from your dad asking you to come down from New York where you were dancing for a party he was having, also at the Rickshaw. This was strange, you thought. Your dad usually didn't invite you to parties, but you were intrigued, so you came down. You said that when you arrived at the Rickshaw, you found your father in a bathing suit, sitting by the pool with a glass of scotch in his hand, and next to him was this one guy, Jeffrey. After a few minutes of small talk, your dad made an excuse and said he had to go and left the two of you alone. Susie, you said that you told Jeff, "I'm so sorry for my father did." But Jeff replied, "I'm not." You said that you spent the entire day talking and laughing together. You had a wonderful time. And when you went home, you told your mom that you just met the most amazing guy. And the next week, he called you for a date, and again, you came down from New York, and you went together to Long Beach Island water skiing. Susie, you said you were the last one to go in, and then the engine broke. Jeff jumped off the boat, picked you up, and held you the whole time while your friend was fixing the boat. You said that he just kept you laughing. After that date, you told your mom that this was the man you're going to marry. And a little over a year later, you did. You brought light, love, and laughter to each other for the next 50 years. And you know, when a couple stands together under the chuppah to be married, we recite for them Sheva Brachot, 7 blessings of joy. And in 2 of those blessings, we pray that the couple become Re'im Ahuvim, beloved companions. Susie, you and Jeff were beloved companions in building a family together and a life together for so many years. That blessing that was recited under your chuppah by Rabbi Lewis was certainly fulfilled. After you were married, Jeff and Susie moved to Cherry Hill and then ultimately settling in Voorhees to the same house they've been at to this day. And then they began adding to their Chanukiah. As we heard from Adam and Lauren, and then Sam, Tess, Sage, and Julian, many wonderful stories and memories about their dad and Pop. It is clear from all those stories that family was at the center of Jeff's life. He was so proud of all of your accomplishments and every milestone that you reached. And Jeff was able to be there for all of you, to do all the things that we heard today, while also being a wonderful lawyer, an accomplished attorney. Jeff loved law, the legalities, the morals, figuring out right from wrong, pursuing justice. Susie, you said that the more he practiced law, the more passionate he got. And he was there for his clients whenever they needed him. He also made himself available for them and was always compassionate. He handled many high-profile cases, appeared before Senate committees and the Supreme Court, and was one of the most preeminent and respected lawyers in our area for decades. And he did well because he cared. Adam, as you said, remember your dad preparing for cases late into the night, practicing arguments, honing his delivery, getting ready for cross-examination. And you also said that you knew that your dad was really good at cross-examinations because you were the subject of many of them over the years. So you could speak from firsthand experience. Jeffrey was able to provide some light during dark and difficult moments for so many in our community. And yet, even with his success, as we know, Jeff remained humble and down to earth. He was a great storyteller and just connected with people, and he was always so proud of his South Jersey roots. Susie, you credited his parents for that. Kind and brilliant people made a wonderful impact on the world. You said that you like to call Alvin and Marilyn the Jewish Waltons. And this also, of course, included their commitment to Judaism and to Temple Beth Shalom. Alvin and Marilyn were among the founders of TBS and were very active in our community for so many years. Rabbi Lewis officiated at your wedding and at Lauren and Adam's B'nai Mitzvah, and he recalled marching with the Torahs from Haddon Heights to Cherry Hill when TBS moved. We know that TBS in the Jewish community was also important to Jeff, and of course to you too, Susie. I remember how he beamed when he watched you on our bima just a few years ago when you became an adult bat mitzvah. We will miss the light that Jeffrey brought to our community as well. And we know, as Susie said, these last couple months, and especially these last few weeks, have become increasingly difficult as Jeffrey's health problems became more serious. And when I saw you both in the hospital just a few weeks ago, he was frustrated. He just wanted to get home. He wanted to get back to his family, to his clients. He wanted to move forward with life. There was so much more that he wanted to do. Sadly, we know it wasn't to be. Still, even in the midst of the darkness of Jeff's loss, the light of the love that all of you showed him with your care, your love, especially you, Susie, was truly remarkable. All of the kindness and care that Jeffrey gave so generously over the course of his life to all of you was given right back to him when he needed it most. This, too, is a blessing. All of this tells us that Jeff understood one of the most important lessons of Hanukkah. Even in the darkest season of the year, we can find light. The candles we light on Hanukkah symbolize the kindness, the generosity, the passion for Israel and Jewish causes, the goodness, the positivity that bring light into our world. And this is what Jeff did throughout his 78 years of life. And today, when you return home, you will kindle a memorial candle in Jeffrey's memory. Like the lights of Hanukkah, it will add to the brightness of your memories. A candle goes out, but the light of memory remains, bringing warmth and blessing and illuminating all of the days to come. This is what Jeff's memory will do for all of us, and that's how we know that his memory will always be for a blessing. We rise for a final prayer.
El male rachamim shochen b'amramim shochen hamtzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashechina b'malot kedoshim u'te'arim כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת ישעיהו בן חיים ומלכה שלח לעולמו בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו אנא בעל רחמים אז תראו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים. וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן.
El Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence. Among the holy and the pure, to the soul of Yeshayahu ben Chaim Umalka, Jeffrey Zucker, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful one, we ask our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated. From here, we will head to Locustwood Memorial Park in Cherry Hill for the burial. After that, comforters are welcome back to Jeff and Susie's home, 25 Alton Avenue in Voorhees. There'll be a service there tonight at 7:30 p.m., and then tomorrow and Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday, comforters are welcome from 5:30 to 8 p.m. with a service again at 7:30 p.m. And then Shiva will continue in New York at Adam and Marissa's home. set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time for planting and a time for uprooting, a time for hurting and a time for healing, a time for tearing down and a time for building up. A time for weeping and a time for laughing, a time for crying and a time for dancing, a time for throwing stones and a time for gathering, a time for embracing and a time for refraining. A time for seeking and a time for losing, a time for keeping and a time for letting go, a time for ripping and a time for sewing, a time for speaking and a time for silence.
Maybe seated, please. I'll ask you kindly remain seated, please, just for a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, when upon leaving the chapel, those who need the information written for the shiver schedule and for the contributions, it is on a podium on the right-hand side of the lobby. You can pick up and take as you leave. Ladies and gentlemen, in these two rows, you can begin to head to our cars, please. Folks in this row, please. Folks in this row,